And so you tell me, as a casual observer, watching them pose side by side, does Eric hold his own against one of the best professional bodybuilders in the world? Coach Greg, and in today's video, people are saying Eric Janek is a failure yet again. After all, he just recently came out of retirement to win his IFBB Pro card, but yet he couldn't pull off the win. And so you may remember that perhaps 5 or 6 months ago, he placed 5th in his last competition, failing to win his IFBB Pro card. And since that time, he had retired. The only one I know that came back quicker out of retirement than Eric Janek is Chris Bumstead, who competed 3 weeks after his final Olympia. In his last competition, he ended up getting 2nd. And because of that, many people say, you blew it. You failed. You don't have the physique worthy of being an IFBB Pro. I mean, if you did, then why didn't you win? And Eric, he's not one to pull any punches. He doesn't blame anyone. He had great conditioning. He had the size. And so what was it? How is it possible that Eric Janek could look that good and not come out on top? On Bodybuilders Without Borders, the caption reads, should Eric continue competing? Eric Janek placed 2nd in the competitive super heavyweight class. Should he continue to pursue his pro card or back to be an Instagram bodybuilder? His words. Let's see what the comments say. What do the people think? Yes, tweaks to posing is all he really needs. There's plenty of ways to turn pro now. He's literally a hair away from his pro card. If he still loves competing and it makes him happy, he should definitely give it another go. At least that way he can go out with pro status. I think if he worked with a high-level coach, he could get his pro card and be a competitive pro. He just hasn't come in with that pro-level conditioning yet, in my opinion. He's already got a pro-level physique, and if he was a bit sharper, he would have got it in that show. Looked great, very close call, and he can still improve a few simple things to look even better. Keep pushing. Here's the thing. I'm going to give it to you straight. Eric is competing in one of the hardest shows in the world in order to turn pro. It's the Arnold Classic, an international competition. It ain't the Canadian Nationals. It's not the United States National Championships. It's the best of the best from people around the world. And in this competition, there was a freak. He's taller than Eric, bigger than Eric, had a smaller waist, and looked amazing. The guy that beat Eric, already I see him as a threat as an IFBB Pro. Guys, all you can do is show up and compete at your best. You can't control anyone else. At almost any other competition, this physique, it would have been enough to earn an IFBB Pro card. And in case you're thinking, oh, you're just glazing him because he's your friend. Coach Greg, he's talking out of his ass. He sucks up to the people that he likes. Let's see how he stacks up against, I don't know, a former Mr. Olympia champion, a guy that just got 4th place at the Arnold Classic, placed just behind Derek Lunsford, Samson Dota, and Andrew Jacked. Brandon Curry posing with Eric Janek, both having competed at the same weekend. Let's see. I mean, we're giving it to you straight. They're not out-angling each other. They're standing side by side. And so you tell me, as a casual observer, watching them pose side by side, does Eric hold his own against one of the best professional bodybuilders in the world? First up, the most muscular. They looked very close in size. Brandon Curry perhaps has better shape, smaller waist, wider shoulders, but Eric, he seems to have equally, if not better, arms and more detail in his chest. Next up, the side chest. Again, Brandon Curry, a little bit more width, but perhaps he's twisting a little bit more to the side. Eric Janek standing a bit more side on. Brandon Curry has a little bit of a twist, giving him more width. But if we're looking at arm size, delts, chest, it's very close. And in this pose, I would say Eric's waist looks even smaller. Next, the side tricep pose. Guys, are you seeing this? And if anything, I would say Brandon is slightly closer to the camera. Remember, if you're judging size, it's all about the angles. If you get closer to to the camera, you're going to look that much bigger. And so my honest opinion is that Eric looks just as good in this tight tricep pose. Eric's chest is thick, his obliques are tight, they're shredded, his abs look amazing, and he has excellent tricep development. Both men have strided delts, and so if you didn't know any better, and I was to show a random person off the street and say, look at these two guys. They both placed top 5 at the Arnold's. You'd think, wow, these guys look incredible. Amazing looking pros. Would you immediately say, wow, the guy on the right, he's clearly a pro. The guy on the left, he'll never get a pro card. He clearly should hang up the trunks. What would you say? And remember, be perfectly honest. 4th place professional versus 2nd place amateur. Back double bicep, you can see Brandon Curry, he has a smaller waist. Eric Janek, I do believe he has more detail, more grooves, more crevices than even Brandon Curry. Eric seems to have equally sized arms, but perhaps even a little bit leaner. If it were not for Eric Janek having a slightly wider waist, I think I would give him this pose. Is it not somewhat close? If Eric is close, remember, just close to a guy who's a former Mr. Olympia champion, what does that tell you? If he's anywhere remotely close to that, it means he could easily be an IFBB pro. Look again. Look at the shoulders, the detail, the definition. Does it not look like Eric has leaner rear delts than Brandon Curry? Look right here. Check it out. I'm just saying what I'm seeing. I don't feel I'm biased. I don't think I'm glazing anyone. I'm giving you my honest 100% feedback. And in the rear lat spread, what I do believe is Eric's worst pose, his weakest pose, he's again holding his own. His worst pose is almost as good as Brandon Curry. Eric doesn't quite have as wide of a V. If he had his lats go out wider to the top, smaller waist, he would have a much improved V, and he would in fact be beating Brandon Curry in this pose. And so are you not seeing what I'm seeing? Does this not prove my point? Next up, thigh and abdominals. And so my opinion, thigh and abdominals, very close pose. Eric has amazing abdominals. Great looking abs, obliques well formed, definition, and massive quads. Brandon Curry has slightly more width in the lats, gives him more of that V shape, but Eric definitely holding his own. Picture Eric looking like this, but with even more detail. Imagine if Eric were as detailed as, say, Logan Franklin. If he truly brought the shreds. Eric is lean, he's shredded, but there is another level which Logan Franklin was able to achieve. And so if he brought that kind of conditioning, it's lights out. Remember, Eric has plenty of size, 250 pounds. But if he were to diet for another 1 or even 2 weeks, imagine how much leaner he could get. And finishing this with the most muscular, look, it's Eric's most muscular. Striations in the delts, the chest, the biceps, abs showing. He's literally bigger than Brandon Curry in this pose. Eric also has massive quads, and I believe if he got even leaner, I can't imagine him not turning pro. What Brandon Curry has, which Eric does not have, is the minuscule looking waistline. Brandon Curry is blessed with better genetics than Eric in this, but it doesn't mean that Eric can't make up for this with increased size and definition. And guys, Eric clearly has much bigger legs than Brandon Curry, and so one person has strengths here, another person has strengths there. It's about maximizing or optimizing what your body can actually achieve. After seeing these two guys pose down, do you now see that Eric is a lot closer to his dream of earning an IFBB Pro card? It just happened that on this day, a man who is even better than Eric, he decided to show up. Imagine you dieted for months, you show up and you realize that Chris Bumstead is competing against you. You end up in second. Does that mean you should give up, that you should throw in the towel because some guy who just happened to be better than you showed up on any given day? No, of course not. Just because you lose, it doesn't mean it's time to give up. The harder you had to work for it, the greater the feeling when you actually achieve it. Case in point, Coach Greg. I turned pro on my 50th competition. 5-0. Not 5, not 2 like Sam Sulik, 50. Imagine how bad you have to like and enjoy competing to compete that often year after year. And remember, the first 42 shows were 100% natural. And so I wanted it bad. And so Eric, he has plenty of time. I turned pro at 35. Eric, still younger than that. And so if you think that this is his absolute best, guys, I got to tell you, if Eric wants it, he can certainly get bigger. He can get leaner. The sky's the limit. George Word writes, better physique than me. If you were to line up every IFBB pro in the world and have him pose down with Eric Janicki, compete with Eric, Eric would beat the majority of them. And so just because he's not a pro right now doesn't mean he'll never become one. Guys, it was the Arnolds. He got second place to the overall champion who won his IFBB pro card. At North Americans, they give 2 pro cards in every weight class. And so you really think it's that difficult for Eric to turn pro? Bro looks like a pro, and he's not making any excuses. And having helped coach Eric Janek along the way, I can tell you, his prep for this competition, night and day different than his last. Throughout the competition, I thought, are you really suffering? How do you have this much energy? You're in a pleasant mood, you have lots of energy, you have no trouble getting in your cardio, your steps, and so on. This is amazing. In comparison, the previous competition, he was struggling. And so if Eric is able to diet this effectively with ease, then why would he not continue? And of course, we all know Eric is taking GO2 Max and Turk Builder Max. How could he not? Eric gets it free. How could he not take it? As well as the recipes in Cookbook 3.1, many of which are absolutely amazing. I kid you not. I'm telling you, if you get the cookbook, it can make your life that much easier. And we all know and love the Kaiko bar. Everybody loves a Kaiko bar in the mouth. Interested in any of this? The Turkesterone T-Plug got you covered. Head to the website, code Greg, 15% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm, like the video if you liked it. And don't forget, we've given away over 110,000 free diet and training programs. And so if you want something for free, no cost to you whatsoever, get to the website. And until next time, I am out.